Terrificon is back. The Terrific Comic-Con, devoted to, what else? Comic books and their creators, returns to Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Connecticut. The 3-day event features the largest gathering of comic book writers and artists. The largest of its kind in New England is on August 9th through the 11th. Terrificon producer Mitch Halleck promises this year's event will be the best con he's ever produced, with today's top talent like Tom King, Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, Clay Mann, Liam Sharp, Derek Robertson, plus legendary creators Jim Steranko, Chris Claremont, Jim Starlin, Jerry Ordway, and in his final con appearance, the one and only George Perez. Terrificon will be celebrating Batman's anniversary, as well as featuring actors from the Bat films, Billy D. Williams, Robert Wool, and Val Kilmer. Plus, Doctor Who's John Barrowman, The Flash's John Wesley Shipp, the voice cast reunion of Animaniacs, and Pinky and the Brain, and lots more. See for yourself why Terrificon is summer's hottest Comic-Con, this August 9th through the 11th, only at Mohegan Sun. For more information and guest list, visit Terrificon.com. It's terrific! Hey everybody, welcome to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, celebrating Word Balloon's 14th anniversary. Hard to believe, May 10th, 2005. I took audio that I was preparing to use for a video documentary about crime comics and how comics were back. Things like Sin City had just come out and made a big splash. And things didn't work out video-wise. So I took these audios and I put them up at wordballoon.com. And the rest is podcast history. I'm glad to still be here 14 years later, strong, with incredible conversations, almost 1,000 different Word Balloon episodes, in addition to definitely over 1,000 conversations that I've had with great creators. Today is no exception. Ollie Masters and Owen Marin about Killer Groove, a brand new Aftershock title that's coming out at the end of the month. This is a great crime comic about the LA music scene. It's a wonderful companion to Ollie's wonderful Vertigo series, The Kitchen. The Kitchen is being developed into a movie, which is just amazing. We talk a bit about that, but really the focus is on this brand new book from Ollie and Owen, and it's terrific. Honestly, they showed me the first issue. I am blown away at how good it is, and Ollie's a hell of a crime writer. Owen's a hell of an artist. And this is terrific, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Ollie Masters and Owen Marin talking about Killer Groove from Aftershock Comics on today's Word Balloon. Aftershock Comics, of course, is sponsoring Word Balloon. Among their books, including Killer Groove, they've got great books this year. 2019 is their year of reading dangerously. Now, you know about Aftershock Comics. They've done great books. Things like Dark Arc from Cullen Brunn and Juan Doe, Baby Teeth from Donny Cates, A Walk Through Hell from Garth Ennis, great Marguerite Bennett and Animosity. That was their free comic book day this year. But also great brand new series that are fantastic. Stronghold with Phil Hester and Ryan Kelly, Descendant from Stephanie Phillips, Oberon from Ryan Parrott, Dark Red from Tim Seeley, just to name a few. In the weeks ahead, we'll have another talk with another Aftershock creator about their books, but you don't have to wait. Check out full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Word Balloon is also brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your wonderful support via Patreon. If you want to subscribe to the cause, Word Balloon is free. It will always be free. It's been free for 14 years. But thankfully, people like the Patreon followers of Word Balloon have been able to help out the cause and sponsor me and, keep the lights on here at the Word Balloon Cave. And it's greatly appreciated. If you want to help out the cause, you can go to patreon.com/wordballoon. There's a direct link if you click on the ad at wordballoon.com. Thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. I know the voice is down in my Isaac Hayes level of talking. Don't worry, this is just early morning voice. I'll be bright and bushy-eyed and bushy-tailed for great conversations coming for the rest of the month of May. I'm very excited about the lineup of guests we have for May. It's going to blow you away, and today is no exception, with a great conversation from Ollie Masters and Owen Marin talking about Killer Groove from Aftershock Comics, coming out May 29th. Here it is now on Word Balloon.
Yeah, that's why I write.
I hear you, man. That's why I'm in radio. That's my day job's radio, man. I am dorky looking guy.
Oh, yeah.
I had him on.
Yeah, no.
I had him on when he was writing Deadpool with Jerry Duggan, and
Yeah.
Jerry's become a really good friend. Brian's become a good acquaintance as well. But first time I had him on, I did Skype, and my old apartment didn't have central air. It had one air conditioning unit in the main room, so the main room was okay. But for where I Skyped, it was always hot as hell, and this was in the summertime, and I am shirtless in gym shorts. And, middle-aged man boobs all the way and everything. And it's funny. I'm like, do not want to do video, guys, just to make sure. And Brian's avatar was a picture of himself with his newborn baby cradled on his massive gut and shirtless, from the waist up. and that's his photograph for his Skype. And he's like, how's it going, dude? And I'm just start laughing. He's like, what? And I'm like, dude, I go, that's hilarious. I was worried you guys might see me on camera and how gross I look right now and look at your avatar. He's like, yeah, I don't care. He's hilarious. He's very, very funny. So, yeah.
Is he still writing comics? Or?
I don't think so. I haven't talked to Jerry on the air in a while. I saw him in New York last fall. And I didn't think to ask him because really I just go directly to Jerry because of Jerry's output and everything. And shit, I want to talk to him. I talked to him about Dead Rabbit before it started rolling.
Yeah.
And it's great. And also I really want to talk to John because I've met John at a couple cons and I've wanted to talk to him for many years. So that's what happens, Ollie. I'm sorry it's been so long, man. I love talking to you guys, and I appreciate you saying no, whatever, it's cool. But no, honestly, Christ, if I could do Word Balloon every day, I'd be talking to you guys a lot more often.
Well, no, also, to be fair, I haven't had
a release.
I haven't had a lot to talk about for a while.
Okay.
As far as the comic stuff.
Sure.
So no, I prefer to leave a bit of a gap and have a lot to talk about than do it on a regular. And it's just me boring you about my day-to-day life.
Well, of course. No, and I understand.
So yeah, this week I went shopping.
Well, ideally, I'll see what Steve says because all right. So wait, you've got Killer Groove. Obviously, I want to talk about The Kitchen a bit, being a movie because that CinemaCon happened last week in Las Vegas. And that's the first I heard about the movie. And
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. Congratulations. We'll get into it. We don't want to leave it in the locker room, as I always say. We want to, we'll talk about it on the pod. But my buddy Robert Meyer Burnett, he's a filmmaker, and he went to CinemaCon, and he does daily YouTubes and is starting a podcast more. He's a big Star Trek guy. I love him.
Oh, okay.
Great guy. And he and this guy John Campia were raving about The Kitchen, whatever they showed at CinemaCon. So again, I'll wait for your comments on the air. But yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, man, no, it was great, and obviously I saw the cast, and I'm like, oh, good, yes. Christ, But yeah, we'll get into it. So yeah, and Owen will bore you for a few minutes when we're talking. But obviously interject, Owen, if you've got any opinions. So.
Yeah, no worries.
Don't get shot. And truly, Owen, I'm glad the three of us are talking and everything. I usually just do one-on-ones because I just feel like someone's going to get screwed. You know what I mean? As far as talking, I've certainly done enough. I come from sports radio originally, so I have done group interviews before, and I try to be mindful of okay, now let me ask you a question. Now let me get into something with you. But it's just obviously. The one-on-one. That's why I usually normally do one-on-one. But anyway.
Yeah, that's cool, man. If I have any, don't feel like you have to shy away from specific questions if they're, only relative to Ollie or whatever like that, So
yeah.
I'm cool.
Cool. All right, boyos.
Cool.
If you're ready, let's rock.
Oh, actually, just quick, John, 1 sec.
Sure.
Yeah, is my I'm testing out this new microphone, and my brother loaned me. Do I sound okay?
You sound great. Yeah, no problem, man.
Cool.
No. Do you? I don't know if you guys do other pods. I haven't gotten Zoom yet. I hear Zoom can be cleaner, and I haven't figured out how to record the audio of Google Hangouts. I know people do it, and in fact, again, I watch a ton of YouTubes where people are just recording Google Hangouts. I'm kind of slow when it comes to trying new apps and new tech and everything like that. So I don't know if you guys have done that as far as potting.
No, I've got no idea. I'm a Luddite. I don't know how anything works. So
no, believe me, I know Skype is easiest, and everybody kind of knows Skype. So even the old men and women know Skype. So that's cool.
This is like the second podcast I've ever done.
Oh my God.
I haven't ventured that far yet.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Excellent.
And thanks for having me on again, man.
Dude, seriously. My pleasure, truly, man. And honestly, I mean, I've got the sponsorship with Aftershock, but it looks great. I'll get into it on the interview. And yeah, man, I mean, no, I've enjoyed Ollie's work for the last couple of years, and your art looks fantastic. And
thanks, man.
No, it's another cool book, so I'm happy to promote. All right,
fantastic.
All right, let's. And I had to get my water to make sure I'm clear. I did an overnight shift last night. Worked till 5 a.m. this morning, Chicago time.
Oh man,
I know, man.
Jesus.
No, it's cool.
Oh, nice. Thank you for doing today.
Oh, no problem, buddy. Yeah. No. And Steve's been. I haven't had an Aftershock person on since Sealy about a month ago, and and that's fine. And like I said, no, this is perfect. And I when I heard about Killer Groove, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll talk to Ollie again, definitely. And Ollie's like, hey, do you mind, if Owen comes on? I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I was just like, yeah, this is good. And I've got a shit ton of, I'm recovering from a stupid infection, and I'm fine. But I'm still seeing like a battery of doctors. And I'm seeing one today in like 2 hours. And then I'm seeing another one tomorrow and another one on Wednesday. It's like, boom, 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 and then Friday. So yeah, this is like crazy doctor week. But no, cool. No problem. All right. Cool. If you're ready, I'm ready.
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 All right, here we go. Ollie Masters and Owen Marin, welcome to Word Balloon. Pleasure to talk to you guys, and very, very excited for Aftershock's Killer Groove. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Man.
My pleasure, man. Ollie, we've talked before, and this is your milieu. And coming off of The Kitchen in New York, and we'll talk a bit about The Kitchen in a second. But you're staying in the 70s, my favorite decade.
Yep.
That's my formative years when I was a little kid, and I was 14 in 79. So do the math.
Wow.
Yeah, I was born in late 64. So I love anytime somebody does a great adaptation and take on the 70s. You have me at a low. So tell me what.
I'm writing these books just for you.
I felt that way, man.
Hey, that's not what you told me.
No, and Owen, I was telling you, man, it looks great. The art looks fantastic. But yeah, guys, tell me about this. How did you guys get together? And Ollie will start and say what I'm assuming the idea started with you, but maybe not. What intrigued you about the idea, and then you guys tell me how you got together.
Yeah, well, no, I had the idea before I approached Owen with it, but I can't remember where I got the idea from. But I really like the idea of just a musician killing people for money. I don't know why.
You're a drummer, I understand.
What's that, sorry?
You're a drummer? Is that true?
Yes, I'm a drummer.
Cool.
Laps drummer. I haven't played in a while.
Oh, I am too, man. I did it through high school,
really?
And I stopped after high school as well. Yeah.
I carried on till like about 4 years ago, something like that. I started playing percussion about 8 years ago.
That's great.
But no, I was never in a band that made it or anything like that. But I used to play gigs and things. Cool. I've been in a few recording studios, so it's a world. Not necessarily on the level of our character Johnny, but it's definitely a world I fundamentally understand. And it just seemed like that. There's certain kind of like themes and ideas that were running through my head, and it kind of needed to be set in that time to really do it in the way I thought of it. And also, I spent all that time in the 70s with The Kitchen. It just it seemed nice to kind of like do a different take on it.
Sure, absolutely. So then, how did Owen? How did did he approach you, and how'd you get involved here?
Well, it all goes back to this one night in a dark alleyway.
Of course, it did. All right.
I'd say he was very convincing, but no. So basically, my very first gig in the comics industry was I was drawing issue 5 to 9. Yeah, issue 5 to 9.
Yeah, it's the middle arcs. Yeah.
Yeah, of Sons of Anarchy Redwood original, which was like a prequel series to the TV show.
Yeah.
And I was familiar with Ollie through friends, namely Declan Shelby.
Sure.
Yeah, that was pretty much my first introduction to his stuff, and like straight away, like I instantly loved his scripts. Like, you know, they're very well paced, very punchy. You know, I could tell that we kind of came from a lot of the same influences and shared, you know, similar stylistic sensibilities. And I just knew after I drew those 4 issues that, like, this is a guy I want to work with again at some point. And that was, I'd say over 2 years ago now. Yeah, probably two years ago. And I had an opening earlier last year, and I had some time to kind of work on some pitch stuff, kind of try, you know, develop some kind of stuff for down the line. And Ollie happened to mention that he was sitting on this pitch, which was obviously Killer Groove, and sure enough, it just worked out like that.
That's cool. Because I'm not sure if I don't think I spoke to anyone before I spoke to you. Like I might have like mentioned it to some other artists I was talking to. Sure. But I don't think that I actually like properly asked anyone. But yeah, we just worked so well together on that Sons of Anarchy stuff. And the second you kind of popped into my head when I was trying to think of people to work with on this, it was just a perfect fit. Like like a big influence on this is writers like Elmore Leonard. Cool. And I know, Owen, you haven't really read much Elmore Leonard or any. Have you?
No,
you haven't yet.
Virgin territory for me, unfortunately.
But the weird thing is, I feel like your artwork is almost like an Elmore Leonard book, like drawn in life.
Cool. I'll take it.
Yeah, no kidding. That's high praise. Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, like, I still find it funny, especially because last year I told you, I think it was like 5 books to buy.
Oh yeah.
A year later.
I completely forgot about
Which Elmores did you suggest to him, Ollie?
I can't remember now. I think it was like, I think it was the basic stuff of Elmore Leonard stuff. It was like, you know, Rum Punch.
Which was Jackie Brown before it was transferred into a movie. That was the original story, Rum Punch.
Yeah.
Sure, I've seen Jackie Brown, so that's
I was going to ask. Yeah. You know, because, I mean, obviously that's the great thing. And truly, we've gotten some great film and television adaptations from Elmore. You know, Justified, of course, a great, wonderful show. And
I still haven't seen it.
You know,
I need to watch that.
Dude, that was amazing. And I loved how Elmore was like, oh, they're digging this. Man, I haven't like visited that character in decades. I'm going to write a new Raylan book. He? You know, and he did.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, didn't he come back to it because of the show?
Yeah. You know, and I love the kind of like, you know, Soderbergh and Tarantino, the movie Out of Sight had Michael Keaton's character in Out of Sight also appears in Jackie Brown. And that's fantastic because it was different movie companies and obviously different directors. And just a great little Easter egg of, hey, guess what? Same guy. Not only the character, but also same actor playing same guy. That was fantastic.
I might be misremembering this, but I think there's like a story behind that of like, I know Soderbergh like asked Tarantino. There's something behind that.
Yes.
Like there was some way they managed to get it together. But I went back and watched Out of Sight again recently because I just read the script.
Okay.
And like that film is so good.
Oh, great.
Like just ridiculous. Like it holds up.
That's good to hear, man, because I haven't seen it, I think, since it was running on cable for the first time years ago and everything. And it's, I mean, I kind of, forgive me, listeners that are big J-Lo fans, but yeah, I don't need to see The Wedding Planner or some of her other crappy movies she's made. And that, to me, that and Blood and Wine, the old Bob Rafelson movie she made with Nicholson and Michael Caine. Those are literally my 2 favorite Jennifer Lopez movies where it's like, oh, no, she's good. It's been a long time since those, but, you know, that was the promise I think we all saw in those early movies. And, of course, Clooney's always good, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, he's perfect for that role.
Totally. Absolutely, man.
Like born to play it.
Excellent. Well, go ahead if you have more thoughts, and I want to obviously chime in. But yeah, I mean, that's what I love about Elmore. I really think he's timeless, and I think the old stuff. I think the old books still hold up and everything. And I always recommend to friends, I'm like, just as you have, obviously, you got to read Elmore because you'll appreciate it that much more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't read like everything he's done.
That's great.
I mean, he did like 40 odd books or something.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
And so I've probably read like 10 of them or something like that. So I'm not like, I'm not a fanatic or anything, but it's just, I kind of am from what I've read because I've never read one, but I haven't liked. And it's kind of hit a point now where it's just, you just go to the bookshop and just see what they have and just, you can pick up whatever you want.
Absolutely, man.
Like,
yeah.
I picked up Freaky Deaky. It was like some guy was selling books, secondhand books on the street, and I found that a couple of years ago, and that book was amazing.
Hey guys, forgive the dumb American question, but because I've asked Mark Miller this about newsstands in the UK and everything. I mean, bookstores still exist, and in fact, I do believe independent bookstores have found their footing after the initial scare of the Amazons and even the Barnes and Nobles and Borders, while it still existed, the super franchise stores and everything. But are the secondhand independent bookstores, are they alive and thriving UK wise?
Well, at least down in Brighton, not as much. Like you don't really. In fact, I think the last one I can remember shut down like last year and got turned into a Barber's.
Wow!
Because in Brighton, everything's been turned into a fancy Barber's in Brighton.
Hilarious.
It's barbers and coffee shops. That's pretty much all we have. But I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you over in Ireland, Owen. But like over here, secondhand books, it's mainly in charity shops and things like that.
Interesting. Yeah. How about
you don't?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, so for my point of reference would be I'm close to Dublin, and Dublin does actually have a few good stores now, like secondhand independent bookstores. Ones that were kind of very resilient and have been kind of hanging on. I've seen a few kind of knocking off over the years as well, but I'd say actually we have one called Chapters, which is like a 2-story one, like, and that's been going years now, like, and I always kind of have a dive in there, and I'm always finding something interesting or cool, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking for Dublin now, so that's a microcosm of Ireland as a whole. But we've had, I think, maybe because Ireland has always been like, this has always been steeped in this, huge,
absolutely, literary background. Yes, indeed.
Like, so I think we've always had kind of an appreciation for bookstores to begin with. But it's. They're still toughing it out over here anyway. They're still here. They're not. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon anyway.
That's cool. And also, on how's because I've talked to Deck about this before when his creator-owned crime comic. What was it called again?
Savage Town.
Savage Town. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so pissed, guys. I saw Deck at C2E2. The Chicago convention just a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't go to the convention, but I was doing the after hours because of I had an injury recently and stuff, and I can't do a ton of walking. And but I'm doing fine. I'm recovering. But yeah, I was like, I asked. Thanks, guys. I asked my doctors. I'm like, please, can I at least go to the after hours? And and they're like, because obviously, there's just a ton of walking, obviously, with cons. And they're like, okay. They go, if you just take it easy at the bar and everything. I'm like, okay. And I saw Deck, but he was like deep in conversation, so I didn't have a chance to say hello to him and everything. But I noticed that obviously the comic scene, Owen, is in Ireland. Seems like it's on an uptick. And do you see a difference as far as coverage and acceptance, or was it always like that? And again, I always say, man, dumb American. I'm the last one to know whatever the hell's happening beyond our oceans and everything. So yeah.
No, it's actually no. I mean, like, I think I'm lucky because I'm probably like I guess I'm one of the newer kind of generation creators coming up in Ireland. But there's definitely there's just been this massive exponential like splurge of creators, not just artists, but like you have a lot of colorists coming into the industry.
Fantastic.
And a lot of even outside of like within American comics, you have a lot of people coming into the independent side of things, like with very solidified, very confident voices in their storytelling. But it's just crazy. Like I think I don't know what it is. Is that something in the water? Something like maybe just there's better coverage for that you can do this kind of thing, for a career, or maybe is this? I mean, I'm sure the internet is a key player in all this as well.
Sure.
But we've just loads of people between like Trina Farrell and Dermot Kelly and Rory Coleman, off the top of my head, Patrick Mullins, like loads of, and I think it's only going to get better and bigger, like as it goes on, as long as there's enough coverage to kind of sustain it as well. Like that's the next. I think that's probably the major problem at the moment, is that within our own country, I don't think there is enough kind of like say media outlets even aware of it, maybe let alone covering it. So I think that's the next kind of major hurdle for the industry and the Irish comic scene in general. But that's a whole different conversation.
How far away from Dublin are you, Owen?
I'm like half an hour on the train, basically.
Okay, because I think that, I mean, I'm not over there, so I can't say for certain, but I think it always helps when there's like a hub and you can have one or two people who are creators who are kind of doing well, and it's almost like that success makes all the people who are kind of coming up underneath, they see someone doing it, and it spurs them on in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what, like in my experience, that was me with Declan Shelby. Like I wasn't aware that like, oh, this dude who lives like a few hours away from me is working for Marvel and DC Comics and doing his own thing, and like I didn't realize it's only when someone in your tangible area is doing it that like you become aware to the fact that it's actually it's actually like an attainable goal. Like I can do this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because I remember when I first wanted to start writing. I mean, I wanted to write for ages, but when I first started to want to write comics, I met Lawrence Campbell, and it turns out he lived like 20 minutes from me, something like that. And now we're really good friends. But at the time, he was really nice to just take me out for a pint and kind of talk me through just how the industry works and stuff like that. And like all the advice he gave was amazing, but like one of the big things it was just like, here's just like a guy, like a regular guy, doing this job, and suddenly it seems like attainable.
Sure.
And if you live miles away from any sort of creator, I mean, I guess Twitter's probably changed it a bit, but still,
the internet definitely.
But even if it is on Twitter, if you don't see it in person, it still just seems so unattainable that I don't know. I guess it holds you back mentally a little bit. I mean, I'm generalizing. I'm sure other people have more self-confidence than me and don't need.
I think you're right, though, man. I really do. I mean, and I mean, I see it here in Chicago, and again, having done Word Balloon for 14 years now, and getting to know the Chicago scene, it's been fun watching people that are finally writing their own creator-owned books. In fact, I just had a buddy on. His name's Brian Crowley, and he worked with guys like Mike Norton and Tim Seeley at Devil's Due when they had the G.I. Joe license and everything. And he was just a letterer and things. And no, he was watching what they were doing and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to try that. And he came out with a webcomic, and now I just helped him with his Kickstarter. It was probably the episode that preceded the one that we're having right now. I see it. I was going to ask well, first of all, Lawrence Campbell, Ollie?
Yeah.
What else has he written?
I don't know. He's an artist.
Oh, okay.
He did,
what's he drawn?
Punisher Max. He did Punisher Max for a while, and he's been doing BPRD for years.
Very cool.
In fact, he did like after Ennis, but before Jason Aaron, he did like a huge chunk of Punisher Max stuff.
Interesting. I wonder who wrote it for him. That's great. That's cool.
Oh no, I think he did like loads of different writers. There's a point where they kept bringing out a lot of one shots.
I see. Okay. Interesting.
He did one with Rob Williams.
Oh wow!
Because they came up from 2000 AD together.
Excellent. I kind of figured there was a 2000 AD component in his background. Sure.
It always comes back.
I think I'm one of the very few kind of, especially English but British UK creators who didn't come up through 2000 AD.
Interesting.
And I think it's becoming less. I think it's becoming less of the route now.
Yes.
Like you see people bypassing it a bit, but I remember when I first started, everyone told me, "Oh, you've got to submit Future Shocks to 2000 AD. That's how you get. If you're English, that's how you start in comics."
Right. And for people who don't know, and you probably do, listeners, Future Shocks are these little, 2-page, maybe 4 pages, but most of the time like 2-page little sci-fi Twilight Zone-y.
I think normally 4 or 5 pages.
You know best.
Actually, but sometimes sometimes I think they'd be shorter. But the thing is, I never really read 2000 AD growing up.
Okay.
I only read it a bit when I got probably in my late teens when I got back into comics. But I've got 4 or 5 rejection letters from 2000 AD for these Future Shocks. And they were, I think back at them now, they were awful. No surprise they rejected me.
Gotcha.
They were truly terrible. But I hated doing the twist. Because they all have to have the twist. Right. And, I just, all my twists were basically just rip-offs of Twilight Zone or M. Night Shyamalan or something like that,
Well, most of the others were as well, to be fair.
That's hilarious. So, Ari, let me ask you both. Why did you choose comics? That's and again, you kind of answered that a bit by talking about getting with Lawrence Ollie, and also seeing how it was attainable. But when did you guys start entertaining the idea of using your skills for comics, even to just try them from an amateur standpoint?
Owen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I've always I've been reading comics, since I could read, and I've been drawing since I could hold a crayon, that usual story. But and I've always kind of messed around with the idea of doing comics and with my friends and stuff like that throughout school. Used to print off kind of small black and white things and sell them for 25p or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I guess seriously, after I'd finished art college, I kind of mucked around doing kind of odd bits and bobs, not art related, and I realized I needed to really kind of focus and try to strive for something art related. And I started going to conventions a bit regularly. That's where I met kind of Declan Shelby. Actually, was a Top Bubble convention in Leeds. Excuse me. And
so you came over to Leeds to meet?
Yeah, I came over to Leeds to meet an Irishman. Yeah, it's a bit of a thing, but yeah, no, and typically enough, most of the conversation was had in a pub, which is
of course, that's all right.
I guess the best conversations are had over pints, but
absolutely,
yeah. I mean, it's weird. I studied animation briefly, and then I considered doing caricatures and. It's weird that I never really kind of clocked that oh, what about comics? Even though I was reading comics every day, and sometimes I draw them just for fun or whatever like that, but it's never something I kind of considered seriously. And I think part of that again is because I didn't see it as attainable vocation. I don't know if I presumed it was all stateside based or if there was years and years you'd have to put in before you could break in.
Sure,
which is still applicable to a degree, but yeah, definitely. I apprenticed with Deck for a year, and it was a result of talking to him at Top Bubble that year, and he made me quit my job working in a bar to be broke for a year. But no, it paid off. Of course, it paid off. Because I was able to fully commit to it, and really, really fine tune my abilities and work out how the industry works and get around deadlines and stuff like that.
And I imagine Deck standing over you, just hands behind his back, kind of smacking you over the back of the head when you don't draw things well enough.
Do it again.
Yeah, I got to know the
Quit
back
your
of the
job.
room pretty well.
It's like Pink Floyd's The Wall. All right, very good.
Yeah.
So I think it's always been in the back of my mind. It just took I guess my eyes being opened to like the reality of it before I could actually seriously consider it. And then ever since I got into it, like I knew it was the right thing, because I tried out other things in art, like again, animation, caricatures, illustration, and at the end of the day, what I want to do is tell stories, and like you don't like the most simplest way to tell your own stories, you know, is still comics in my eyes.
Very cool. And I wanted to ask about getting back to Killer Groove. Is where is Johnny's position in the music world? Is he just breaking in? Is he just playing small clubs? Is he trying to get a record deal or get with a band in some way and become a session musician?
Yeah, no. At the beginning, he's playing. Well, he's playing in the bar he works in.
Okay,
it's the only place that'll have him. It's the only place that'll hire him. And there's a slight allusion to the fact that he almost had a hit before that got played on the radio, but it never quite took off.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he kind of starts off as a bad Bob Dylan ripoff. At least that's how I wrote him. We don't hear the music. So
do you plan?
But yeah,
do you plan to do a playlist or anything like that for Killer Groove?
We're talking about putting a playlist together, but I don't think we could ever. I mean, never say never, but I don't think we could ever have the music, because one of the conceits is as saying it out loud kind of sounds ridiculous now. As he kills people for money, his music gets better.
What is superhero nonsense?
Yeah, no, I mean it's as it goes on, you kind of realize it's a little bit more complicated than that. But part of it is his music starts speaking to people once he's first killed someone, and what we've done, and Haas, our letter's done a great job of it, is we don't have any musical notes when he's playing music. It's only when he's singing like his inspired music. And what I worry about that is, and I think I saw McKelvey talking about this about Wicked and Divine.
Okay,
is that when you're saying the music is something special, how do you portray that outside of comics?
Yeah.
Because in comics you can get away with it because no one has to hear it. But if we're saying, like, whether it's to do with him killing people or not, if we're saying this music is special and really touches people, then we've got to find musicians to then say, look, you've got to write the best song of the early 70s right now for comics money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we would. We'll see, but I don't think it's something we'll do.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if you were gonna try and come up with something to evoke the era, but I can also appreciate what you're saying too about singer-songwriters.
There's ideas being thrown around. We're looking into. So yeah, like Ollie said, I wouldn't say never say never.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
that's cool. Excellent, man. No, I'm really psyched for this, and yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Wicked and Divine, and certainly before that Phonogram and everything. Honestly, radio-wise, I started in music. I was a first-generation MTV high school kid, and even prior to that, I got to work professionally for the best rock station in Chicago. It's called WXRT, and they just always curated incredible music and would, again, don't know the comparisons of Ireland or sorry, my phone. I'm going to turn this off. All right. I don't know about the stations in Ireland and in England, but XRT would play current hits and play blues and play classic stuff and mash it all together and make it sound amazing. So my interest was, I want to be a DJ like that. That's exactly John Leeds kind of guy. And in fact, that's always been the highest compliment for Word Balloon is when music lovers are like, oh, you kind of do the same shit John Leeds used to do. Isn't it John Leeds? Am I right? From he used to do rock interviews for BBC, right?
John Peel. Not John
Peel.
John Peel,
yeah.
See, there you go.
So I thought you were talking about an American guy for a second.
No. Yeah, John Peel. John Peel is who I was thinking of.
And, that's high praise.
Oh, yeah, dudes. Honestly, I'm like, holy shit, that's incredibly nice because, I love, and I still listen streaming to a lot of BBC audio documentaries on music and the video ones because, goddamn, they are fantastic. So, no, that was really where my initial interest was as far as radio. So I'm fascinated by the music business. I was really bummed that HBO's vinyl television show didn't make it beyond the one season. And that was... Yeah,
like, I see that show get a lot of shit. Like, people talk about it not being any good. And I'm not... obviously I'm biased because I kind of like that era.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't feel like it was anything... it wasn't particularly saying something new or anything like that. But I thought it was an entertaining show. It could have really gone places.
Agreed. Yeah, I was hoping it would. Yeah.
Is it who's the lead guy? Bobby
Cannavale.
Cannavale, yeah. I could just watch him do anything.
Totally agree. And even Ray Romano was terrific in his role too.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, because I hadn't seen him outside of
Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond before. And then now he's doing Get Shorty.
Yes.
He's really good in Get
Absolutely.
Shorty.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. We're getting a free. I don't have Epix. I think Epix is who's running Get Shorty on cable. I forget which cable company has the Get Shorty TV. I'm gonna have to look that up. But yeah, I haven't seen Get Shorty yet. But he also had a show called Men of a Certain Age with Scott Bakula and Andre Braugher. And it was all, and I certainly related to it because it was about guys being in their late 40s, hitting their 50s. I'm like, hey, you're talking to me. All right. I will watch this. But Ray Romano's great. But that era of music is fascinating to me. And again, this was my, pre-high school years, the 70s and everything. And it's a great era to set. Every decade is interesting music-wise. Ed Piskor is doing the hip-hop comics and the history of hip-hop in comics. And, I'm a little too old for some hip-hop. About half of hip-hop I'm into and everything. And I love reading it because it's like, oh, my God, they're going through the same shit. And it's interesting to see the evolution of music and how it starts from the street and then the record companies and the radio stations get wise to the next great thing, and they jump on it. And, of course, currently we're in a very interesting period where, terrestrial media is kind of breaking down. And, it is through SoundCloud and all these other areas where music is discovered and really starting to happen as far as, where the new sound is coming from. So, wherever the new sound is coming from in every era fascinates me.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting at the moment where... something like Spotify, where, you get paid almost nothing for music on Spotify. You basically have to be the biggest artist out there to really make a living out of it. But through Spotify, you discover so many bands, and it's making touring viable again.
Absolutely, yeah.
More bands are really hitting the road in a way they weren't necessarily before because they're not making the money from album sales anymore.
Right. Absolutely. No, it's back to the beginning because, you're right. That was obviously the path, going back to the 30s, in the 20s and stuff like that. Yeah. So it is interesting to kind of see it cycle back 100 years later to that
exactly.
kind of thing.
I can find some random band from, the opposite side of the world who would never get any mainstream...
Totally, man.
Who you'd never read in any of the music magazines, you wouldn't hear on the radio or anything like that. But you can discover them through something like Spotify or SoundCloud, get into them enough that when they tour, it makes sense for them to tour in England because they could, a friend of mine's band from over here, they looked at their Spotify listeners and found that almost all of them were in the States and specifically in these different parts of the United States. And so they were like, oh, well, they're not a huge band at all. They're a very minor band in sales and stuff. And they booked a tour. They booked a tour in America, sold out. I think almost immediately. They then had to book the other coast.
That's great.
And they wouldn't have known if they could have afforded to do that without Spotify. I
hear you, man. No, it's very. It's very, very interesting. And a guy like Josh Rouse, who gets airplay internationally and stuff, but not a lot of American airplay. And he's a singer-songwriter. I think actually he'd be a good kind of Killer Groove template. If you don't know Josh Rouse, and yeah, man, he's an American, but he was living in Spain for a long time, and a little bossa nova influence in some of his songs and everything. And I discovered him online. I can't remember even what outlet it was. And yeah, he just came through Chicago last May. And I'm like, oh, finally, man! I get to see this dude live and everything. And I've just been trying he's been around for at least 15 years, if not longer. So yeah, no, it's very. And I know Chicago bands that have had the same kind of career path as your friends and everything. No, it's a very interesting time. And again, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Killer Groove playing with. And I don't know how much beyond clubs and everything. And I mean, is the music industry going to be a big part of this book?
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing like a vinyl deep dive into it, but we definitely do touch upon it. Cool. Because he's a musician, that's all a part of it. But that's not really what the story's about. If you get what I mean.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
He does get big enough to the point where he does start like interacting with I guess the more known. Some known figures from music.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to see some cameos of real people?
Well, I don't know about legally if any of them are actually...
Yeah. Well, all right, so we'll see some familiar lookalikes and soundalikes, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, like, we specifically... I didn't want...
litigation.
I didn't want to put any actual... Well, yeah, I didn't want to get sued. No, and also, just I don't know. It could have been a bit distracting if John Lennon just suddenly pops
up.
That's true. to start talking. So
I think that'd be a very easy thing to do as well. Like it's like, oh, what are the 1 in a million chances that he'd end up in the room with John Lennon, this guy from fucking LA.
No, and also a lot of it is kind of like, as far as the music stuff, it's kind of talking about these kind of legends of the 70s, and so a lot of it, like Johnny is this kind of like Bob Dylan ripoff. A lot of it's kind of amalgamations, or it'll be a certain type of that 70s rock star rather than the actual person. It gives you a bit more license to do whatever you want with them.
Oh yeah, man.
But also, that's at the same time, that's through the story, that's a kind of running theme. That's the kind of music stuff is this running thing that's happening through it to Johnny, but like the real bulk of it is the character story of him, Iggy, Jackie, and Raoul.
Yeah.
Didn't want to get a bit lost in just countless him playing gigs and roadie stories.
So tell us about the other characters, huh?
So
are these bandmates?
We've also got. No, we don't. We don't get into the bandmates too much. No, we've got Iggy, which is the mafia friend he makes, who gets him into killing people.
Okay, gets him his jobs. Okay, yeah. No, I was going to ask how he. Go on.
The friend he makes along the way. Yes, well, Iggy is kind of like came up from New Orleans to LA looking for free sex and drugs, and is operating a kind of Murder Inc. sort of a hitman service in LA, and he takes Johnny under his wing, and
kind of see him like his older brother in a way.
Sure,
yeah. Because Iggy always wanted to be a musician, but had the end of his finger shot off, so could never play the trumpet again.
Jesus, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
But that's based on a true thing. Do you know Dr. John? New Orleans?
That's hilarious. Yeah. Yes, I know Dr. John quite well. Go on.
So I'm a massive Dr. John fan, and he had the end of his finger shot off.
I never knew that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a fight. You should read his autobiography. It's insane.
I should.
He was a pimp for a while. He was in jail. What's the jail? Is it Angola? Is that the big jail they've got down in?
Oh, could be. Yeah, could be. Again, I mean, if it's not in my backyard, again, dumb American. I don't know.
It's like Well, anyway, he spent time there, and
that doesn't surprise me.
He used to be a guitarist in an R&B band. and someone shot the end of his. It was either shot off or cut off or something like that.
I gotta look this up, man.
And so he could never play guitar again. Well, he could, but not as well as he used to. So that's why he became a pianist.
I'm really glad you brought up Dr. John because I got a name drop for a second. When I worked at this great radio station, WXRT, I was there for 9 years. And I was just making commercials for them. And every now and then I'd come up with a comedy bit that they would do on a live remote or whatever. But for Independence Day weekend, we had a big fireworks thing in Chicago, and the night ended at a private party that we had at this Cajun restaurant, and Dr. John was our entertainment, and literally we're sitting around the piano listening to Dr. John, and I'm like not 5 feet away from him, and I mean. Prior to that, I was purely, I've been in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. You know, and that's a great song. But I really hadn't discovered a lot of his songs until that night, and immediately became a massive Dr. John fan. And, you know, like, again, I kept my distance, but at least, you know, shared eye contact. I'm like, seriously, man, this is like one of the greatest music nights of my life to hear you play live and this close. And he's laughing and having a great time. He was incredibly nice. And it's seriously, man. No, I was excited when they included him in the vinyl soundtrack.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. No, I've seen him a couple of times, but the first time I saw him, this tiny little venue up in London. It's only like 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And like I knew he was, because he's pretty old now. He's he's like 70s.
I'll be honest, I wasn't sure if he was still alive or not, frankly, because I wasn't sure.
We just saw, but like, so we had, I think it was John Cleary was opening for him, and then the whole band comes on, and John Cleary stays doing a bit of piano backup, and they're kind of playing Dr. John's music, his walk-on music, and he comes on stage, and he's got this massive walking stick covered in all this like hoodoo stuff, which he's into. And he's kind of like, he looks so old. He's kind of moving towards the stage. And I was like, oh, God, this, it's going to be good seeing Dr. John, but, you
don't know.
He's passed.
Yeah, man,
passed,
you don't know.
So what's it going to be like? So he sits down, and I'm right at the front, like literally like could have reached out and grabbed him. And he's got a piano and a keyboard to spin between. And he sits down. I'm just like, really anxious. And he just starts playing like he's 15. Like, he's full of energy. He's just got it going on. And it was one of the greatest gigs of my entire life. I ended up getting the set list from his from
sitting on the piano or
electric
whatever.
Organ. And
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, it was at the end of the gig. They're throwing like drumsticks and stuff out of the crowd, and the bass player was holding the set list from the organ. I was kind of shouting like, let me have it. And I've never been in a fight. I've been in fights if you count getting the shit kicked out of you. But almost got in a fist fight with this guy because he was like I'm like a regular heighted guy, I guess, and he was a fucking giant. And he reaches, the bass player goes to hand me the set list, and this fucking giant reaches over me and tries to grab it out of my hands.
Hilarious.
Jesus. And it's in this like nice like jazz clubby type place, and I just kind of elbow him out the way. And then the bass player had to tell us to be cool.
Jeez. That's amazing.
And like, the thing is, like I said, I kind of like elbowed him out of the way a bit. Got it, and I suddenly turned around and looked at him and was like, what the fuck did I just do? And luckily he looked pretty angry. He looked really fucking angry. But
it's a good thing he didn't grab one of the drumsticks, or he would have shoved it up your ass.
Well, no, because afterwards I did end up getting one of the drumsticks, right? Like so we went, me and friends got another drink, and I saw the roadies packing everything up. And I went over and asked if I could have one of the drummer's sticks, and he gave it to me. And as we were leaving, I saw the fucking giant again. I was clutching the drumstick, just thinking I need this to protect myself.
That's outstanding, man. Jesus. Excuse me.
But yeah, no. So yeah, that's Iggy, the character is not really based on him, but that story's kind of inspired by Dr. John.
That's fantastic, man. That's excellent.
And then on the other side of it, we've got a friend of Johnny's, a PI named Jackie, who's kind of working cases in LA, and they're not quite they're friends, but their stories don't kind of intertwine until it kind of the story moves on a bit.
Okay.
Coming back to that kind of you get that sometimes a lot in like Elm Leonard, where you almost follow multiple characters and they're kind of linked, but they don't have to kind of constantly be interacting with each other. They got their stories going at the same time.
Very cool. Excellent, man.
And kind of liked that idea. And well, as it kind of went on, you've read all the scripts. Like, she becomes it kind of becomes a two-parter between her and Johnny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like she became like, from the beginning, I knew, like, when I first started outlining it, I knew she was obviously going to be important. But as you start writing, what becomes like a major supporting role suddenly becomes like a lead role.
I hear you.
Mm.
Yeah,
that's excellent, man.
Like, and it's like, her uncle Raul, like,
old cop,
who's
old school cop.
A Cuban immigrant.
Oh.
With a shady past.
Fantastic.
Who ex-CIA, isn't he? Ex-CIA.
That's no, but that is sort of a spoiler.
Oh, you want me to cut that? I can cut that if you need me to, boys.
Jesus. Sorry, I have to rein myself when I forget.
No, he's not ex-CIA, but he's had dealings with, so
kind of knows the world. Do you want me to cut it?
Yeah. No, I think that leave it.
Okay, no problem. That's hilarious, and everyone will hear this, so that's good. Because they'll also know. Well, no, honestly, that gives me my cred with the readers sometimes. Where it's like, the last thing I want to do is spoil your guys' story secrets and stuff. Honestly, and women when I talk to the women, yeah, it's like, hey, man, no, it's cool. You guys need to surprise us when you need to and everything. So no problem, no problem either way. Well, no, honestly, man, sounds like a great book. Very excited for it. In our closing minutes, I wanted to ask about The Kitchen. Because that's, Ali, the first thing I became aware of, you and Ming Doyle doing that for Vertigo. And as I was telling you off the air, people may not know, because CinemaCon, which used to be called Show West, is a big industry convention that happened in Las Vegas last week as we're recording. And all the movie studios do presentations for the theater chains. And so they get together and let them know, here's our slate of movies, here's what we're excited about. And, you get late 2018 or late 2019, 2020 glimpses. And, Disney obviously was there, and they showed like a scene from Endgame and talked about some of the things. They didn't go into a lot of detail about what's coming after Endgame, but talked about other Disney and Fox movies and projects they've got going. And Warner's, I guess, showed either a trailer or scenes from The Kitchen, and it's going to be Melissa McCarthy and Elizabeth Moss and Tiffany
Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish, yeah, and then the men.
Donald Gleason, Bill Camp. It's like you look through the set list. It's a set list.
Yeah, well, no, exactly the cast equivalent of a set list. No, it's very impressive, man, and it's so great because
Margot Martindale,
yes.
who.
From Justified and the Americans and wonderful
Americans in Sneaky Pete.
Yes, Sneaky Pete, absolutely, man, hilarious.
Yeah, no,
she's terrific.
I was really
I love her.
She wasn't there on set when I was there.
Wow.
No, she wasn't. Sorry, she wasn't on set, but which was a shame. But I got to meet Tiffany Haddish, Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Moss, who were all really cool. I got to chat to Bill Camp a bit because Bill Camp is just a fucking amazing actor. So it was really cool.
Did they read the comic as well as read the script? How deep did they go?
Oh, I've got no idea.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. But were you introduced to them and everything? Like, hey, this is the guy who came up with it?
Yeah. Well, I met most of them just kind of like at first just wandering around on set, like it was on location, so it was all kind of like a bit. Everyone was on top of each other the day because me and Ming went out for 2 days.
Cool.
So you end up just kind of that's a pretty crazy thing, I've never been on a film set before. You just kind of turn a corner and like Tiffany Haddish is standing next to you, awesome. which is kind of so you can just kind of met, and then they did like a proper kind of like get together and photos and stuff like that. But I don't know if any. I mean, like I didn't really ask him if they'd read it because that just seemed like
you don't want to put him on the spot. I was just wondering, No, I'm hip. And I mean, are you happy with the adaptation? Have you had a chance beyond visiting the set to see what they did with the screenplay and everything?
Yeah. Well, I read the screenplay before Andrew Berloff, who wrote and directed it. I read the screenplay before they'd hired her as a director because it's her first directing gig.
Fantastic.
And read the screenplay and like it's really good.
Excellent.
But like it's really hard to separate yourself from it. Like when it's your thing, it's really hard to kind of like. It's really hard to even at first. It's really hard to even tell if it's good or not because a part of you is just like, oh, it's yours, but it's not yours. Do you know what I mean? There's uncanny nature to it, and what like she's made changes, and I think it's all for the best because, like you can sometimes like I mean Sin City, which is like I'm not going to like shit on Sin City, but at a certain point where it was such a direct adaptation that you almost kind of think, well, what's the point?
I understand. I understand. It is for a lack of a better word. Oh no, and I even like the sequel. I think it's a real achievement as far as filmmaking. But because it is so faithful, it does feel a little, for a lack of a better word, gimmicky. And it isn't gimmicky. Yeah, it's really making Frank's visuals a literal translation, and that's interesting. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, for some of its flaws in both movies, you got to hand it to them because it is an interesting movie. But as I was going to point out, this is a great opportunity for you to join History of Violence, Road to Perdition, so many great non-superhero comic book adaptations that, go ahead. Yeah, tell me, because again, you've seen it, or you've seen the screenplay.
Well, yeah, well, no, exactly, but also, just from another perspective is, for a story about these three women, obviously Andrea, as a woman, has her own take on it, and
of course,
and will like, I mean, I don't know because I read the first draft of screenplay, so I don't know how much it changed, but she. What's what I was saying? It like, she could touch on areas which I wouldn't have necessarily felt comfortable with, and she can talk about it. I mean, I'm very proud of what we did in the kitchen, but she can always talk about it from a much more authentic standpoint.
I'm with you.
And she kind of branched it out a bit. Like originally, Tiffany Haddish's character obviously wasn't African American in the comic, and they changed that, and that's really great.
Yeah.
That's nothing but good. So I'm just glad that she's been able to put her spin on it and kind of not necessarily improve on it, but like make it her own thing.
I'm with you. Yes, indeed. No, and exactly, and that is the great thing, and that's that's why I mention especially History of Violence, which is very different from the original graphic novel and everything, but the flavor is there. And that's even better. Or even, of course, as we go back to talking about Elmore and everything, these things stand on their own in the medium that they're designed for. And that's terrific. And we're seeing that with the superhero movies as well. And it's very exciting. And again, it is a woman's story, so it's great to have that opportunity to really broaden it out, and not only on camera but certainly behind the scenes. Get that kind of voice in the filmmaking and in the storytelling. So no, I hear you, man. And what a cast. But no, go ahead. You're again. This is your experiences.
No, yeah. No, sorry.
No, honestly.
So, no. Well, no, I was just going to say, like, yeah, when we were on set, there's the main scenes we saw. There was they were almost directly from the comic.
Cool.
And that, I don't know whether that's why they chose
to have you visit.
Chose specifically to be our days, yeah. Or maybe it's because I told Andrew if I really like Bill Camp and those were his days.
Oh, so that's awesome. They're very cool.
I don't know, but the scene, one of the scenes we happened to see was one of not quite a monologue, but like a big Melissa McCarthy scene, like a bit where she's got a lot of screen time, kind of doing this bit. And man, like I found out afterwards that like she started off doing drama and theater and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So obviously, I only know her from comedy stuff.
Absolutely, man.
And then now she's got another film. Is it Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which I haven't seen yet, but everyone says is amazing. It is great.
It's fantastic. I got a screener of it because
okay. She just like even if like she had a like I did know about history of drama or whatever, she just blew me away with this scene. Like, and I think that's a point where I was just like, this film, like it's going to be something hopefully really special. But like, I've got high hopes for it just from what I saw on set.
I hear you, man. No, and by the way, Melissa McCarthy, a Chicago woman, Jenny McCarthy's cousin.
Of course,
and really, you know what's awesome? From Mike and Molly, her television show, Nyambe is a massive comic book fan. And I've seen him at conventions now, like regularly at San Diego and New York all the time. And I asked him about Melissa, and obviously nothing but love for her and everything. And that's what I keep hearing is she's cool, and that's great, and not only talented, but just a good, down to earth person. And the Chicagoans like Bill Murray. I mean, we all idolize Bill Murray, but we get an extra, and I'm even from his hometown and everything. We get an extra sense of pride when it's like, oh, thank God they're nice, and it's not an asshole, or
Oh, good. She was. I mean, like, I only spoke to her a handful of times, but she was, like, no exaggeration, probably one of the nicest people I've ever met.
That's great, man.
Yeah, and everyone was cool. Like, everyone was cool, but she's just really, like, warm and friendly, And no, it was really nice to be on set. Like, everyone was very gracious, and it's weird. It was weird. It's just uncanny. It really is, because as many changes as there might be, it's still your thing.
Sure.
And you're watching, especially coming from doing comic stuff, where your next step is the artist doing it. So seeing these people just kind of like embodying it is always an uncanny feeling.
Well, like I said, man, I trust the John Campea and Rob Burnett's point of view in seeing it, and in fact, Rob, as far as the trailer or whatever they showed at CinemaCon, and Rob hadn't read The Kitchen yet, and I emailed him and I'm like, dude, you gotta read The Kitchen, it's unbelievable. And truly, and man, I had Ming on before I had you on and everything, and I gave it up to Ming as well. I'm like, this is a great book, honestly. That's how you both came on my radar. And as you say as well, I have high hopes for the movie as well, because this should be, hopefully, William Friedkin always said, for a movie to do good, 1,000 things have to go right. And that's tough. That's pretty goddamn tough. You got a lot of people and their hands are in it, and you hope for the best, but something, editing, whatever, can fuck up a movie. So I hope so for your guys' sake, because it's a great story.
I mean, so far, like everyone. Like anyone who's seen any of it just says it's really good. And I think they've changed the release date, so it's coming out in the summer now in the US. It's like coming out in August instead of September.
Oh, wonderful! Well, that's great, man.
And also
No, go ahead, Ali.
It was kind of crazy. I was going to say, this is Andrea's first film she's directed. First feature film she's directed. I don't know if she's done any shorts or anything. But literally everyone on set was just telling me, like, you'd have no idea it was her first feature film. Like, no, she's written like a fair few, but like she just seemed to take to directing so well. And she's but we've got to know each other a bit, like since she was writing the screenplay, and yeah, like she's a really cool person. We really get along, so it's just really nice to see people responding well to it.
That's excellent, man. That's really great to hear. And well, again, I was going to say, unfortunately, I got to wrap up. I'm usually the guy that's like, all right, we'll keep going. You know, and here let's do 3 hours and everything. But it's good because this gives me an excuse to check in on Killer Groove, maybe when it's time for the trade or whatever, and I can have you guys back. And we'll see what happens. But no, man, good luck with it. It seems like a great concept. And Owen, I'm digging the art. So. Absolutely, man, and again, Ali, another great story from you, and I'm thrilled that things are going great for you guys. So, Killer Groove from Aftershock debuts at the end of May, and 5 issues for the How do you guys see this first arc, or is it a finite book? What's the plan?
It's 5 issues wraps up this story, but there's room for us to tell more stories in the world.
Excellent.
So we're going to see what happens. Yeah. By the end of this, Owen will probably be some big shot artist. Well, won't want to work with me anymore.
Owen will alternate. 6 months doing Marvel or DC, and then back to your creator-owned stuff and everything. And yeah, man, like I said, Owen, I feel like I always feel bad when I have 2 people on. I always feel like somebody got a little short shrift and everything. But we'll talk again in the future. And truly, man, the preview pages look amazing. And I'm very, as I always tell you guys, and when people write a good crime comic, it's like, well, fuck, you had me at a low. And it's true. So happy to point the Word Balloon listeners to this great new book from Aftershock, Killer Groove. Comes out at the end of May, and created by Ali Masters and Owen Marin. So it's really a pleasure talking to you guys. Tremendous conversation. Look forward to doing it again.
Thanks so much, man. Look forward to talking soon.
How about that? Great having Ollie back. Wonderful to meet Owen. Killer Groove. It's out May 29th from Aftershock Comics. It deserves your attention. It's another great crime book from Ollie and Owen, and happy to help promote it here on Word Balloon today. Thanks again for listening. Brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League. 14 years of Word Balloon, and you, League of Word Balloon listeners, have been a big part of it ever since I brought Word Balloon to Patreon and have asked for subscriber help via Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support. If you like Word Balloon and want to help out, can you spare $1 a month? Can you spare the price of a comic book a month for the content that I provide regarding pop culture here at wordballoon.com every month? If you can go to the Patreon page for Word Balloon, patreon.com/wordballoon, or you can go to wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad. But thank you for your great support, League of Word Balloon listeners. And Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics, the publishers of Killer Groove, out May 29th from Ollie Masters and Owen Marin. They also have great books like Stronghold from Phil Hester and Ryan Kelly, Oberon from Ryan Parrott, Dark Red from Tim Seeley, Animosity from Marguerite Bennett, Garth Ennis' A Walk Through Hell, Dark Ark from Cullen Bunn, Pestilence from Frank Thierry, Baby Teeth from Donnie Cakes. Aftershock is calling 2019 the year of reading dangerously. They're backing it up with those books and a hell of a lot more that are gender-blasting books that anything can happen in. That's the great thing about Aftershock Comics. They have top quality writers and artists bringing you quality books with great surprises. Now, in the days and weeks ahead, we'll have another talk with another Aftershock creator about their books. But in the meantime, go to their website, check out full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks a lot for listening. I promise my voice will improve a little bit later in the day. And when I do talk to you next time, you'll hear a nice, beautiful, mellifluous voice. I'm glad I'm not on radio right now. Man, can you imagine? It's going to be pretty deep. Man, just like I said, I'm at the Isaac Hayes level right now with my voice, but it will improve. Thank you very much for being on the journey with me these 14 years of Word Balloon. It's been a wonderful 14 years of bringing you great pop culture content. That will continue through this month and beyond with really exciting guests. I can't believe some of the guests that I get to talk to this month in particular, and beyond. Very excited about the prospects coming in the weeks and days and months ahead. So thanks for listening. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2019.